Welcome, everyone, to the Sonoma Spiel. My name is Tim Zahner with the Sonoma Valley Visitors Bureau. April showers, they say, bring May flowers. Now, I am obligated and under contract as a official tourism promoter to tell you it never actually rains in the Sonoma wine country. But if it was slightly more humid than other dates, it's because it's possibly there's some nice spring showers falling down in the valley, and that means we're getting a little bit longer for the green hills, and then all the beautiful plants will be blooming, and plants with names like poppy or hollyhock or columbine. I'm making up words. I don't know these things, and the reason why I don't know is because I'm with an expert, and that's why today I have a very special guest. Now, I know every week I say I have a very special guest, but this week I do actually mean it because I have a boomerang guest. She did not learn from her last experience. She mistakenly decided to come back. I am so excited to welcome back to the Sonoma Spiel Jeannie Perales with the Sonoma Botanical Garden. Jeannie, how are you doing?
Hi, Tim. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Good.
I can't believe you invited me back.
Well, you were so good. Like a good plant, you came back for another season. You're a perennial.
Perennial?
You're a perennial.
Not an annual?
You have deep roots.
Love it.
I'm like, she disappeared, and no, like in classic California, you were down there underground.
Yeah.
And then you come back.
It's in hibernation, and now I'm having a rebirth.
Well, thank you for coming back.
Thank you for having me.
Jeannie, you are with the Sonoma Botanical Garden. Yeah. And for people who don't know, give me the quick headline. Where is it? What is it?
Sure. Sonoma Botanical Garden is on Highway 12 in Glen Ellen, so just north of Arnold.
North of Arnold?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, on the east side of the road.
Right. And it's a well-known spot because a big sign right there. Yeah. You turn on Highway 12. We were just talking earlier, Highway 12 is kind of a weird highway, Sonoma Highway they call it, because it goes both north and south, but kind of east and west. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of, being the valley of the moon, a crescent moon, it kind of moves in different directions.
Yeah.
But you're right there in one of the turns.
We are. We're right there, and we're about 63 acres. The garden was established in 1987, so it's been around for a long time. It opened to the public in 2001, I believe it was. Yeah.
And it used to be something else. It was kind of a unique topography there. Can you tell me about that again?
Yeah, it was called Quarryhill.
Okay.
Because it's the site of an old quarry. So, and the rock was quarried up until 1906.
Got it. And up until 1906, you think they would have kept quarrying it to rebuild San Francisco.
I know.
And a lot of quarries were here. In Sonoma, there's also a quarry behind what the Toscano Hotel, where our visitor center is, because a lot of Italian immigrants came here to work in the quarries. Mm-hmm. And those rocks would end up in San Francisco and around the bay. And I think, when you go to your former quarry, now Botanical Garden, it's so cool that you have these pools and these waterfalls and that kind of topography that came about because they scooped out part of the mountain, basically.
Yeah, right? That's right. Yeah, the site has wonderful terrain. So it's a great hiking garden. It's not flat. And it's not. So just so you know, it's a good place to hike. You wear your closed-toed shoes. You put your sunscreen on, and you grab your water and your hat.
Right.
It's really important because there are definitely some big swaths of garden that are very exposed to the elements, exposed to the sun, but really great for getting the heart pumping. And you could do about 3 miles of trails in the garden. Right. We have a 1-mile loop, and then there's a bunch of little what we call discovery paths, which are very charming little stone paths. Okay. Mossy paths, little tiny hidden bridges. It's a really beautiful, charming property.
I do love that because you're crisscrossed by these secret paths that pop up. And it's not a rose garden. Like, you're not in the Sonoma Plaza where it's flat and curated and manicured. Right. It's kind of a wild forest that's been sort of curated, to put it one way.
Yeah, it's it's not great lawns and tulip beds. It's kind of what I always say. It's sort of more of an arboretum, really. If you were to look at the botanical gardens that you've been to, it definitely feels a little bit different because it's more wild feeling. Okay. It's like a woodland.
I like that.
Yeah. So in fact, it's a woodland experience where east meets west.
Now let's talk about that real quickly because you do have a special exhibit happening. But again, to people who don't know, you have a huge collection of Asian plants. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Hold on to your hats for this one.
Okay. Here we go.
We are an ex situ rare and endangered plant conservation collection of wild collected seed grown plants from temperate East Asia.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what occupies the quarry portion of the
By the way,
property.
ex situ. Well, good job with the Latin. Well done.
I always try to work a little
Not
Latin
in
in.
place, outside of place.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Okay,
Yeah.
and so you have this collection of temperate Asian
Yeah.
plants
Mm-hmm.
that were kind of the history of your organization.
Yes.
But then a couple of years ago, you started something else too, right?
Yeah, that's right. So a few years back, I think it was 2021, the name was changed from Quarryhill to Sonoma Botanical Garden.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that, the mission was expanded to include California native plants.
Gotcha.
So because California and East Asia are both biodiversity hotspots,
Okay.
and so there's that sort of similarity between the plants that are found in both of these places. So we've kind of gone into this California native plant collecting and displaying, and it's been really interesting, especially for someone who came from Florida.
Right.
And of course I knew my native plants in Florida, and they're different, by the way.
What?
Quite
Not
different
the same?
climates.
You mean the mountains of Florida don't have the same kind of variations? I, by the way, side note,
Yeah.
I have been to the highest point in Florida.
Lake Wales Ridge.
It wasn't as impressive as maybe you thought it would be, but it's important to go
It is.
to those kind of places.
Yes.
You know.
Did you go to Archbold Biological Station, or did you go to?
I passed a sign that said tallest point.
Okay.
And I remember you wouldn't know otherwise.
Yeah. It's a very it's an ancient ecosystem on that highest ridge.
Okay.
It has Serenoa, which they're these ancient plants that are older than Joshua tree plants.
Really?
Joshua trees, believe it or not. Some of them date back to 8,000 or 9,000 years old, I want to
Wow,
say. Yeah.
really?
Yeah, I know. You wouldn't think anything in Florida is quite that old, but it's amazing. And it's what's called a scrub habitat.
Yeah.
And sadly, it has it's almost been wiped out.
Okay.
Because of overdevelopment.
A lot of development.
Yeah.
And that was, that's the story of a lot of states, and Florida especially.
Yeah.
A lot of development. But okay, real quick, you're from Florida.
Yes.
And right before we started recording, you're from a circus town.
Yes, I am. The circus town, Sarasota.
Sarasota is the circus
It's
town.
the circus town. So it was the winter home of John Ringling's Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Okay.
And and so I grew up with circus families, and I worked at the museum, the Ringling Museum, which of course has a large circus museum and collection along with it, and the largest miniature circus in the world, the Howard Tibble's Circus. It's completely amazing.
Miniature circus?
It's the
What do you
largest
mean?
miniature circus.
It's like a circus for ants, or what are you talking about? What does
It's
that
a model circus. It's done in I think it's half-inch model scale.
Okay.
And it was built over 50 years by one man, Howard Tibbles.
Okay.
And who was just a major circus aficionado, and made his money in flooring, and then invested it in building this beautiful miniature circus. So it's the Ringling is an amazing museum and collection that's just full of all kinds of wonderful, quirky collections.
I love this story. And before you were saying that your family owned a like a gas station
Yeah.
and a deli store or something
Yeah.
like that.
When I was a kid, my dad owned a delicatessen and gas station in Venice.
Okay.
Venice, Florida, which is just south of Sarasota. And Venice was the winter home when I was a kid. Sarasota was years before that.
Okay.
And so we were kind of like a circus family because I'm one of 5, and we all worked in the store with my dad. So in fact, when I was 8, I was running the cash register. That was my job.
Good for you.
And my brothers were making sandwiches, and so the circus families loved us because circus families stick together and work together, and that's kind of how our family was. And so we had lots of Gunther Gable Williams, who was the famous lion trainer. He used to come into the shop all the time, and he'd always give us free tickets to the circus. It was great. We knew so many circus families. Yeah.
This is like the most random thing
The
ever.
Christianis, the Zucchinis. I mean, we knew them all. They were the Cannon family, and the Zucchinis. The Zucchinis had the Cannon. The Christianis did the horseback acts. The Walendas were big.
The Walendas.
The Flying Walendas. In fact, one of my high school teachers was a Flying Walenda. So
What does a high school teacher who's a flying Melinda teach?
He taught history.
Okay.
He taught history. And it was not a good story. You know, a lot of them died in one of these circus acts in the 80s, I want to say it was. And, you know, there I was, this kind of shy high school kid, and I raised my hand one day in class and said, "Excuse me, Mr. Melinda, were you part of the flying Melindas? Are you part of the family?" And he really just clammed up and he wouldn't talk about it. So it was pretty traumatic for him. But the Melinda family is alive and well, and they are still like daredevils.
That's amazing. And I love that you have like this random circus angle. And before we're going to go back to the Botanical Garden, but what is the best deli sandwich in your opinion?
Oh gosh. Oh my
I
goodness.
feel like you're an expert.
My dad used to make one called the Texas Po' Boy that he made up, and it was roast beef with provolone cheese and barbecue sauce on a really good, you know, like a hoagie roll kind of thing, and it's a good sandwich.
I like the Texas Po' Boy. Okay,
Texas
good.
Po'
Now
Boy.
you
I
heard
think
it
he
here
kind of
first.
made it up. Yeah.
He was probably like, what do I have? I'm running low on pastrami, and I don't have any ham.
Everybody likes barbecue sauce. Just throw it on there.
Everyone likes barbecue sauce. Okay, so good. That was good, and I appreciate that because I know that you know so much about Florida Botanical because you came from that area.
Yeah.
Moved to California, took this job.
Yeah.
What you really brought was the idea of doing different exhibits at the Botanical Garden because typically, or an arboretum, an ex situ Asiatic, whatever. It used to be like, okay, I'm going to go look at the Botanical Garden. There's a tree. There's a bush.
Yeah.
That was fun. I don't need to go ever again.
Right.
Because I saw the tree.
Yeah.
But you started something else where you brought in, or you continued a thing of bringing in exhibits that rotate.
Yeah.
You've had these big birds made out of bamboo.
Yeah.
I think.
That was last year. Mm-hmm.
You've had whimsical frogs.
People love the frogs.
People love
People
the
still
frogs.
ask me for the frogs.
They were big frogs. They were
Yeah.
like small frogs. They were like metal sculptures of frogs,
Yeah.
like playing trumpet and
Yeah.
doing stuff like that.
They were anthropomorphic
Anthropomorphic frogs.
copper frogs.
A lot of Latin in this one.
Darling.
And now you've got a new exhibit that you're starting out here in April to run through the fall. Can you tell me about that one?
Yeah. This exhibit is called Spirit Guides, and it's fantastical creatures from the workshop of Jacobo and María Ángeles.
Okay.
They're a married artist couple from Oaxaca, Mexico.
Okay.
And they're just so incredibly beautiful in person. The photos just don't do them justice.
Right.
You have to come and see them. They're just big and bold and bright and really joyful. The show is wonderful. There's 8 sculptures.
Okay.
And they're sort of peppered along the California Trail.
Okay.
So, and we did that for a couple reasons. One is that, Mexico and California are primos.
Very similar.
We're hermanos,
Right.
We are.
We are
And
vecinos. We are neighbors
we're
now.
vecinos, we are. And, the California floristic province dips down into Mexico. And so as we're thinking through what are our parameters for a California native garden, what do we want to represent? What's the story we're telling? We've decided that the California floristic province is our parameter, which is huge. It's 70% of California. It goes up into Oregon and it dips down into Mexico.
Okay.
And so we won't grow all of those plants because they won't all grow in Sonoma. Some, it gets a little too cold and a little too wet for some of those plants, and it's a little too arid for others. So, but that is the sort of loose perimeter. And so placing these sculptures kind of in our landscape, our California native oak, savanna, and woodland, it just makes sense. They feel right.
Right.
And when you look at pictures from the studio in Oaxaca, they're placed out. They had these beautiful photos that when we were deciding, to book the show, we thought, well, that looks like Sonoma.
Okay.
In the summer when it's cold, right?
Thank you.
When
It's gold.
cold.
Good job.
Cold.
Good answer.
Thank you. See, I'm a transplant, but I'm a convert.
You're learning.
So anyway, the trail of sculptures takes you up through the California section and into the Asian garden. And so it really just kind of gets people moving through the garden. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing these outdoor sculptural shows is to give it's almost like an egg hunt or like breadcrumbs. Sort of you get one to the next one. And anyway, the sculptures are wonderful. They're even better in person. They're about 8 feet tall.
That's a large.
Yeah, they're large.
And what are they made out of?
They're fiberglass.
Okay.
So they have an interesting process. The artists, they normally work in wood, and they carve these fantastical creatures, One of them is a coyote fish. So it's this like howling coyote, and he's got this big fish tail, you know, or there's jaguar eagle, or there's a
So they're
spotted
animals
deer.
that are combined into two.
Yeah, they're hybrid creatures. And so there's the Zapotec calendar is an indigenous measurement of time in Oaxaca and Chiapas and kind of southern Mexico. And so these creatures are based on the Zapotec calendar.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're similar to alebrijes.
Right.
Everyone's going to say, oh, they're alebrijes. They're not alebrijes. Alebrijes are, they were invented by a man, an artist in Mexico City, and they're trademarked.
They are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are spirit guides.
And these belong to the people.
Yeah, so these actually, this was a commission. The Denver Botanic Garden commissioned this. They call it a taller in Mexico, workshop, the Ángeles taller, to make these sculptures that then they could travel around the country.
Oh, that's really neat.
So it's really neat. So we're actually the fourth garden that has exhibited these sculptures. And yeah, they're just terrific. We're really excited. We're actually going to bring Jacobo and María up at the end of May.
Oh, good. Okay.
And they're going to do some fun programs with us.
Okay.
We're going to start a monthly Noche Latina. So we'll have Latin music nights once a month as part of our Acoustic Sunsets series.
Okay.
And then they'll also do a botanical briefing, which is like a little lecture. And then they'll bring unpainted wooden creatures for people to paint. So we'll do a little painting workshop, and then we also have some programs with some area schools. So we're super excited to
And
have
you've been
them
doing
here.
a lot of these like events to bring people in.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit more
We
about
don't do events.
Sorry. These
We do
educational. Sorry,
programs.
Permit Sonoma.
Public programs, Tim. Public programs. That's what we're doing.
That was the most Sonoma County answer ever.
I know.
We don't do events. These are not weddings.
I told you I'm a convert. I get it.
So we have this acoustic sunset
Yeah.
happening.
Program. It's a gathering. It's a get together.
When do those occur?
Every Wednesday evening. We start May 6th and we go through September 16th.
Okay.
And what we're doing is we're extending the garden's hours until 8 p.m. on Wednesday evenings so that people can enjoy the sunset.
Beautiful.
Because the sunset in the garden is amazing.
It is nice.
I felt so selfish the first year I lived here. I live in the garden. So I got these amazing sunsets all to myself.
did.
And I kept thinking, we need to share this.
And you were just staring at them and a single tear would come down.
Alone with my glass of wine.
You got all emotional. You're like, I should share this.
I should share this. It's
Not
pretty
Chardonnay,
nice.
the sunset.
Yeah.
Bring your own Chardonnay.
So every Wednesday evening, May 6th to September 16th, we'll be doing concerts, and they're free for garden guests.
Okay.
Or free
Garden
I should say
members?
free for garden members, and then included with admission for any guests.
And do people bring a picnic, or how
Yes.
does that work? Okay.
Yeah, you bring a picnic. We don't have food service. We're zoned ag.
Which I love that you're zoned ag. But
Yeah.
you can't have food.
I
And you're
know.
like, so what are you growing in that ag?
I know. Grapes. We can serve wine. No. That's very
Right.
Sonoma, too.
Very Sonoma.
Yeah, so you can bring a picnic. In fact, you're encouraged to bring a picnic, and you can bring your pup. It's the only time we allow dogs.
Oh, that's kind of neat.
So
Okay.
Wednesday nights are so fun. We have area vintners come and pour sips, and so you can sample all kinds of different
And you've
wines.
really turned this into an amazing thing because you have people there. I see it.
Mm-hmm.
People are there, and you have this beautiful sloping lawn,
Oh, yeah.
like a natural amphitheater. That I don't know if it was built for that originally or what the purpose of that area was, but it's perfect for these kind of events.
The amphitheater is so beautiful. It was built, I think it was 2016, and it's in memory of one of our longtime volunteers, Marilyn Smith. Her husband, Bob Smith, named the amphitheater for her. And Dr. Bob was on our board for 20 years and passed away last year.
Oh, he
himself.
did?
He did.
The man from the fundraiser.
Yes, I know.
He was, wow, what an
know.
amazing man. I tell you, when we went to practice for the fundraiser,
Yeah.
Remember he was out there like getting the rose garden?
He was deadheading our
you're like,
roses.
Don't do this right now.
It was hot. It was such a hot part
It
of
was
the
a
day.
hot day.
Yeah, he was a
Wow.
firecracker. So he named the amphitheater for his wife, Marilyn.
Okay,
So
great.
we've actually had that for about 10 years. And the first couple years, as I understand it, it was used for some educational programs, lectures. I think there was like a snow leopard program one time. And and then, like so many places, we had fires, we had the pandemic, we had changes in leadership. And so it sort of sat dormant for a long time.
Okay.
And when I got there, I was like, oh, we have an amphitheater. Oh,
Yeah.
do we have live music? What's going on? And everybody said, you can't do events. And I thought, well, I think we could enhance the visitor experience
Good.
in the evenings. And I'll tell you what, people love it.
Yeah.
And it's helped us really drive membership, just build awareness of the garden.
Yeah.
About half the people that come each week are brand new to the garden.
That's great.
So it's been awesome. Anyway, we'll keep doing it.
Good.
We love it. Our people love it. Even our Sonoma County people love it.
Even and you had mariachis there last night.
Oh my gosh. Last night was so delightful. We opened the exhibition last night with our members and donors, and we brought in the Luther Burbank Center's Youth Mariachi Ensemble.
That's wonderful.
Oh my gosh, these kids are incredible.
Yeah, they are. So there's kind of like this big mariachi movement here in the North Bay.
Yeah.
At the LBC. They also play at the Green Music Center.
Yeah,
And they sound fantastic. Whenever I see them, I'm like, how do they... It's that classic, like, as you get older. Like, when you're younger, you're not impressed. And then you get older, you're like, how do they do that? Like, that kid's so young.
Yeah. We had a couple of 13-year-olds there last night doing solos that were just phenomenal.
It blows your mind. The level of the artistry. And then when the adult professionals join them, you're like, wow.
Oh my gosh. It's just music just brings people together. It just does. And the show really it's kind of like a love letter to our Latino community in Sonoma County and beyond. And it was so fun because there were 18 or 19 of those kids last night. And then, of course, all their parents and all their little siblings. And it was just so lovely to have them there. And they said something so sweet. At the end, their conductor said, it's so nice for us to see ourselves in the art in this garden because it makes us feel really welcomed, and that's what we were hoping.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. And that's our community, right? That's the people who live here. So that's great. All right, when does this program, when does it run through the exhibit?
It goes through my birthday, September 7th.
That's why, yes. Aren't we all doing a big Jeannie birthday on September 7th? And then helping pack them up?
I know, my husband was like... And that sounds like an interesting date to make it
Was
go
that
through.
just random?
No, it's because it's Labor Day weekend. So it goes through Monday, September 7th.
Gotcha. Okay. That's
It actually makes sense that my birthday is Labor Day because I can never not be working. That's just
true.
how I am. Yeah.
Well, and to get here, someone had to go through labor.
Hey, there you go.
There you go. People who are watching on YouTube will notice it, but people who don't, on your ears you have some leaves. You have a very botanical themed earring.
Can you guess what it is?
Well, from far away, at first I was saying either poppy or ginkgo, and I don't know what is it?
It's a ginkgo.
It's a ginkgo.
Yeah.
Is it the smelly one or the not smelly one?
It's the not smelly one.
Is it the... One of them smells...
The female's smelly.
Okay.
The male is not smelly.
And there's people... So the ginkgo biloba is it?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful tree.
Oh, yeah.
So
and it's
gorgeous.
a gymnosperm. It's an ancient
one.
Ancient tree.
And the reason why it smells bad or good
Yeah.
is because I guess it was some pollinators. It was supposed to replicate decaying animals.
Yeah.
So it would be attracted to like those kind of flies and mosquitoes.
Yes, like carrion beetles, that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Exactly. Very good, Tim. I think you're sort of an amateur botanist.
So, well, I just know because we call it a barf tree, and there's one in the Sonoma Plaza because they never cut it down.
So it's got to be the female.
There's like three of them, and one of them's the barf tree. And when you, at a certain time, you sit in the plaza on a certain bench, and you're eating lunch. You're like, did someone get sick around here? And it took me like a while to figure this out. I'm like, it's the tree.
Yeah.
I'm sitting underneath the barf tree.
Yeah.
But it's really amazing, beautiful tree, and they all drop their leaves kind of the same day.
Yeah.
There's this golden curtain there. So I do like you wearing
Thank you.
an Asian leaf there. But it kind of looks like a poppy from far away, though,
Yeah.
too.
It's like an upside down poppy.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like that's the perfect thing for you.
I know. It's
like
in California. Oh, that's great.
The other one could be a poppy. No one would know. Tell them it's a poppy there.
Onto it.
Okay, now we're going to go sideways here.
Yeah.
Internet. Have you heard of the internet channel Crime Pays But Botany Doesn't?
No.
Well, you've got to see this
Oh
guy.
my gosh.
He is hilarious. It's this guy from like the Chicago accent who goes around and he talks very specific about botany and plants, and he's really passionate about it.
Oh my gosh.
But he's got this kind of like real working class kind of attitude, and he's talking about like how in parts of Texas he was trying to plant trees to stop the heat island effect and native trees.
Yep.
He's weighing the native and the right kind of plants, but he gets like he'll talk about the tree like this tree it's a real son of a you know what and blah blah blah. And then he rips out all the Latin terms.
Oh my
and
gosh.
he's a really cool guy.
He sounds like a guy after my own heart.
He
I already have a
really
crush
is.
on him.
You got to watch his videos. They're hilarious. And he travels around the United States making these great videos. Yeah. So
Did you see there's a trailer right now because there's a new Netflix show that I always call him Zach Snuffleupagus, but that's not his last name.
Oh, Zach Galifianakis.
That's it. He just started a show called This Is a Gardening Show. And of course he's hysterical.
Well, and he had Between Two Ferns.
Exactly. He's a plant guy. He is now firmly declaring that he's a plant guy.
So is he just out there gardening in his Crocs?
He's gardening and he's talking to kids.
Okay.
And he's pretty funny with kids.
He is funny,
right?
he's a
And
comedian.
kids think he's really funny too. So it's mostly about food gardening.
Okay.
And it's about sustainability
Right.
and just there's a little bit of a doomsday element to it because it's Zach, right? But it is so beautiful, and he just talks about like what a sanctuary garden can be and how therapeutic it is to grow your own food, and it's really wonderful.
Wait, do you have in your garden?
Mm-hmm.
Do you personally have a garden, like a vegetable garden?
We don't.
you.
Okay, we grow some tomatoes. Yes, definitely. Tomatoes, because we can never get enough tomatoes. We'll just eat tomato. Like I said to my husband last year.
You're married to a Spaniard.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, so if we could grow garlic, we would grow garlic too.
Right.
But, you could grow garlic.
could,
Yeah,
yeah.
certainly could. But last year he tried a few other things, and I was like, just grow tomatoes this year.
do it.
Because that's all we eat.
What if you did a bad job, though? What if you're there at the Sonoma Botanical Garden, like you're the director?
Yeah.
And you live on the property.
And you kill a bunch of plants.
And people walk by, they're like, oh, that's Jeannie's garden.
Well, it's funny. I actually had a tour of a former board member today, and I took him because I live on the property, and I took him on the golf cart ride, and I said, and this is where I live, but don't look at the garden.
Right.
We don't put a lot of energy into this garden.
Well,
we put all the energy into the other garden.
Cobbler's kids have no shoes.
That's right. No, my garden's not great.
Your garden looked great. They're like, well, what about the plants over there?
Yeah, it's all janky over there,
Jeez.
and your garden looks great.
Well, because we're getting into farmers market season is starting here. We're gonna have the Tuesday night market's gonna start. We already have the year-round Friday night market or Friday day market, excuse me. But like all the plant sales are getting out, and all the plant starts are happening.
I know.
But
so exciting.
Some people put their plants in too early.
I know.
And they pay the price.
I think it's tomato time now, don't you think?
They say always wait until after mid-April, after tax day. In the ground they go.
okay.
Yeah, and then I've also heard that you can put tomatoes in the ground up until Father's Day.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Yeah, and you want a prolonged fruiting.
We have a pretty long time
Yeah.
also here because September, October, you can get fruit and tomatoes up until November almost. They're not super ripening, but they're pretty good.
We're so lucky here. I mean, the land is fertile.
Yep.
the climate is temperate. It's just
a good
amazing.
spot.
No, it's amazing what we can grow.
So it sounds like Zach Galifianakis is going to come to your garden
Oh man, I'm hoping so.
and look at all these dead tomatoes.
I know. I will not let him come over to my house.
Yeah, Jeannie, this is great. Well, luckily, there's down the hill from you. There's Flatland Farms and some other different.
A flatbed,
Flatbed,
and
Oak Hill
Oak Hill.
Farms. Oak
Woo!
Hill. Jimmy the Pumpkin Guy.
Oh,
I've been
man.
trying to get Jimmy the Pumpkin Guy on the podcast.
Oh, you should.
He's too busy growing pumpkins.
I know.
He wears that cool kilt.
He wears that kilt, the
I know.
Carhartt squirt.
He does.
Work squirt. I know. My son and his friend went last weekend to the opening day, and my son said, "Mom, have you seen that guy's squirt?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, why does he wear it?" I'm like, it's probably really comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hot.
Yeah.
And Carhartts are pretty restrictive.
They are. They're it's a good utility device.
It's a utility.
I think it's
like a Swiss Army knife.
If you go back in the Bible, the men wore the tunics, the long flowing things.
That's right.
And they were agricultural people.
Jimmy's not afraid.
Shepherds.
He's not afraid.
Jimmy's not afraid.
No. Plus, he's got that trebuchet,
He
he
has.
launches those pumpkins in the
He
fall.
does, and that's why I want him on because I talk about it every time, and I get the videos.
Yeah.
And he makes the best. Like he brings these huge pumpkins and stuff like that. He has blue pumpkins.
They're gourmet pumpkins. They're like
Yeah.
Martha Stewart pumpkins.
He's got weird
They are.
bumpy pumpkins.
I
He's got
know.
all types of pumpkins, and but he says, "Yeah, I just got to go work on the farm." He's such a farmer. He loves it. Good garlic though. Anyway, they do have starts. I think he might sell starts. But the guy
yeah.
next to him will at the Friday market too. So
I think they're doing fewer flowers this year and more
Really?
food crops.
Okay.
I'm going to say that's what they said in their last little note. I love that farm, and it's right down the street from us, so we try
Right.
to go on Saturdays
Yeah, it's
and
open on
get
the
whatever we
weekends,
can.
and,
Yeah, Wednesday evenings.
and
You
then
could
the
stop
season-
there right before coming to the concert.
Say, I saw Jimmy in his skirt, and now I'm going up there.
Yeah, get a free pass to the concert if you see
And
if
you
you
know-
say Jimmy in the Squirt.
And you know what? Where could they stop to get picnic food on the way up?
Oh,
Glen Ellen Market, I
Glen
guess.
Ellen Market. Yep, definitely.
Or any of the restaurants.
You can
take
pick
it to
up
go.
Glen Ellen Star. A lot of people pick up pizzas from there
Great pizzas.
beforehand. Amazing pizzas.
Yeah, they do a good job there, and Ari and his team, they're nice people.
So great. I
that's-
know. And that, you know, that's all local stuff too.
Yeah.
Amazing.
What a good place you live in.
I know.
So lucky.
Yeah, I feel super lucky. It was a major upgrade from Florida. Sorry, Florida. I love you, but Sonoma's good. It's really good.
Sonoma is nice, and Florida. Maybe we can visit Florida to like sponsor us.
Oh,
So
it doesn't sound like it's going to head that direction.
Florida, the highest point is like 38 feet or something.
252 or something
252
like
feet.
that.
That's wonderful.
I know.
I'm going to keep working on some different Florida stuff. I've been to Ocala. I've been to a Florida winery.
Oh, really? Blueberry wine?
Well, anyway, I've been there. And it's not, look, I appreciate everyone's attributes. And Florida has amazing tropical, subtropical, really cool, the dunes and the Gulf.
Listen, Florida has a lot of natural beauty. Amazing. The beaches are incredible.
Right.
The forests, Florida forests are pretty awesome.
They're pretty cool. Have you heard of the Everglades?
Oh, have I heard of the Everglades?
It's a big thing.
It's a big thing. Actually, the garden I worked at in
Cypress?
Florida, I got to go do field work in the Everglades
Really?
and the Fakahatchee. And the Fakahatchee.
Did you say the Fakahatchee?
Fakahatchee Swamp. You can't say that after you've had a glass of wine.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Fakahatchee Swamp, that's another place where we did field work. There was actually an endemic air plant, the giant air plant, which is a Tillandsia.
Okay.
There's Tillandsia utriculata and Tillandsia fasciculata.
Okay.
These are both giant air plants. These are epiphytes, so they grow on trees. Okay, but they're not parasitic. They don't
They don't kill the plant.
Yeah, they don't do anything bad. But there was a Mexican weevil that got into these plants and just decimated about 90% of the population of them. And so the garden that I worked at, Selby Gardens, teamed up with Naples Botanical Garden and went in and saved the remaining 10% of the plants. Took them off the trees. We brought them back to our greenhouses, cleaned them out so there wasn't another weevil there, and then regrew them. And then we went back out. We had GIS coordinates on all the plants that we had pulled out and went back out in the swamp. You had to wade through the swamp.
Okay.
And-
While the water was there, not during
yeah.
dry season, so
and
wet season.
gators and all the other things in there.
Yeah.
And then put them back out, plant them back out. And it was a really successful reintegration
You were helping
project.
save
Yeah.
this native plant.
Yeah.
That's actually cool.
Oh, yeah. No, we did a lot of great field work down there. In the Everglades, we were repopulating an orchid that had been poached extensively.
Like in that book, The
Yes.
Orchid Thief. Is that real?
Oh, yeah.
People go in there and steal orchids.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah.
Why don't they do what I do? Is you get an orchid
Mm-hmm.
and then it blooms
Uh-huh.
and then it dies. And then you're like, this is going to come back and it's in your side yard
Yeah.
among all the other zombie orchids that
Yeah.
they're just dead. And you're like, why do I keep getting orchids?
In the winter, you should just put them in your bathroom windowsill
Okay.
because they love the humidity.
Okay.
And then it'll just keep coming back in the spring.
But what, do they like being knocked over by cats?
You know what? The more abusive the relationship, the better. Orchids really,
Really?
they prefer neglect.
They do.
They do. People over care for their orchids.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a lot of those amaryllis, and I just keep planting them in my side. I have so many now because, and I love it. And my mom listens. Thank you for all the amaryllises. But I just plant them, and I've got so
They're
many
beautiful,
of them. They're
aren't
gorgeous
they?
right now. They're blooming again, and they're good. But we've totally hit middle age. We're talking a lot about plants.
You're interviewing a director of botanical garden. Read the room, Jim.
Did you major in plantology or something? Where did you get into plants? How'd you do this?
Do you know that's funny? Which I'll just kind of sidebar. One of my brothers, every time I start talking about plants, he pretends to fall asleep. That's our big joke. Anyway,
Oh, what does he do? An accountant? Come on.
he's like IT support.
Oh, yeah,
person,
exactly.
right? Yeah, so I studied anthropology in college and
But that's the
communications.
study of people.
Yes, I know, people and culture. So I studied anthropology and communications. which, I didn't know. I wasn't going to school for a job.
Nobody knows what they're doing at 18.
Right.
Wait, where was you doing in your college? Where was this?
I went to FSU, Florida State University in Tallahassee.
Seminoles.
Yeah, Seminoles.
Seminoles.
Seminoles. That's it.
Go Seminoles.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's done.
Is that the thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went to FSU, and then, I didn't know what I was going to do, so I went to Prague to teach English overseas.
Okay.
And I taught English in Prague and then in Barcelona.
Oh.
And then I came back like you do, moved back in with my parents and my other brothers who didn't know what to do either. And we were, I was waiting tables at night. And
You weren't working at the deli anymore?
No, I was working at an Italian restaurant called Caragiulo's.
Okay.
Waiting tables. And then I moved for a guy. I moved to Steamboat Springs, Colorado.
Oh.
And the guy is now my husband. So
Gotcha.
it worked out.
Okay, it worked out.
Has a happy ending. Yeah.
Yeah.
And while I was there in Steamboat, that was my first living in a mountain town year round, learning how to snowboard and, enjoying that kind of Western lifestyle. I realized what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I realized I wanted to work in museums.
Okay.
So I took the boy out of the mountains and we moved to Denver.
Okay.
And I worked at the Denver Art Museum as in the education department, and I was working with the Native American collection and the Asian collection.
Got it.
And I was like, okay, I love museums. I
Right.
like being in a museum. So I decided I thought that was the place to stay, and I went back and got my master's in educational psychology and a teaching certificate.
Okay.
Because I thought, Dan and I were getting married, and I thought, okay, I could always fall back on teaching. You don't really know in this very volatile kind of nonprofit museum world if you're going to have employment. But then I tried to get into the schools actually in Florida, and there was a hiring freeze.
Okay.
And so then there was a job at the Ringling Museum, the Circus Museum. But it's also a collection of Baroque and Renaissance art and a 18th century Italian jewel box theater.
Did not know this.
And a
Okay.
Gilded Age mansion that's pink. I mean, it's a wild place, and it's so wonderful.
Okay.
And the grounds there's a rose garden and these great big huge banyan trees, and it's just a wonderful place. So I got a job there, and I was there for 4 years, running their docent program, so training all the docents on all the collections, and really great if you're kind of a lifelong learner nerd like me. It was a super fun job. But then a job opened up at the Selby Botanical Gardens, and it was the director of education, so it was like a step up. And I always liked nature. Actually, I was more of an outdoors person than an indoors person. And I applied and I got the job. And then I fell in love with gardens. And I thought, this is my place. This is my ecosystem. Right?
There you are.
So then I learned all about neotropical epiphytes, right?
Yeah.
So orchids.
Wade through a swamp for them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we also did field work in Costa Rica and Belize. And I got to do really great projects there.
Wow.
It was an amazing job. And but I just, that just firmly planted me in the garden world.
You have all the puns.
I know.
It's so good.
It's punny.
It's really good. Good. Well, I see what you did there. Okay, Jeannie, you asked at the beginning of this, before we start recording, when we asked the questions.
Ah, yeah.
I'm going to tell you, we're going to get to the part where we're going to ask the questions.
Oh, good.
Okay. But before we get there, if people want more information about Sonoma Botanical Garden and they want to find out and how to book it, and get what's the website, et cetera, et cetera.
SonomaBG.org.
SonomaBG.org. B for botanical, G for garden.
Yes.
Has all the information as well as memberships and then the hours and things like that.
Yeah, we're open every day from 10 to 5 and Wednesdays until 8 beginning in May.
That's right. For non-events.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Oh, by the way, this new section we're about to go into is brought to you by our new visitor guide.
Yay.
We're doing an ad. Our new visitor guide is out. You can come check it out. And the Sonoma Botanical Garden is inside that new visitor guide. It is 76 pages of wonder. 74. Yeah, 76 pages of wonder. It's really nice. It's 4 colors. And if you order one online at sonomavalley.com, we'll have a government employee drop it off to your house. So go there and check it out. All right. Jeannie, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Jeannie, as you know, we have 2 visitor centers. People call us, text us, they walk in, they write us letters, they fax us, they slip into our DMs. We have a crew of volunteers that help us answering our questions. You're going to help me by becoming a volunteer in the segment we call We Get Questions. I love how you ask, do we start with the questions or not? No, we end
When
with
do the
questions.
questions happen?
Okay, here we go. This one, Jose got this on an email earlier this week. Hi, we are visiting from Wisconsin later this month and are on the hunt for a good bar with cocktails and happy hour. Bonus if there is music, any ideas? So just good bars with cocktails and a happy hour.
I mean, I don't think you can beat the saloon, the Jack London Saloon.
Jack London Saloon is fantastic.
It's my favorite bar.
It's the saloon at the Jack London Lodge right there in beautiful downtown Glen Ellen. And Glen Ellen does not have a stoplight. It's got a stop sign. Yep. There's a stoplight at the beginning by your thing there.
Yes,
Yeah.
at Arnold.
But basically, when you're going through Glen Ellen, you kind of do two little S's, and you're right through it there, and it's on one of the S's.
Don't blink.
Do not blink. So the saloon is a great one. I went back to my think tank, which is Jose and Michelle, who does our social media, and said, what are some other places that have good happy hours? And they include Hot Monk.
Oh, yeah.
BV Whiskey Bar, the B&V. You can do that. Got music there. Wit and Wisdom, of course. Murphy's, the classic Irish bar right there. And La Casa, which, probably good stuff there. And then Salt and Stone, which is up by you.
Oh, yeah.
Good happy hour up there. So there's a lot of choices here for this person. Nancy from Wisconsin. Go check that out. Also Beacon, which is the... Yeah, great spot.
That's across from Wildflower, right? Upstairs?
Yes.
Okay, I went there one time. It's a real bar.
Yeah.
It's a real bar.
It's a bar.
It's beautiful.
And Martine is the guy at the front, and the
great.
Chase is the bartender. It's a great spot, and they're opening a new restaurant there.
Oh.
Yeah, it's going to be Smashburger. Ari from Glen Ellen Star is opening up a smash burger place there.
Oh my gosh.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
So cocktails up there. So so that's good job. You answered the question.
All right.
And the Jack London Lodge is an easy one. Okay, Eric was this guy. He's from Sonoma. Eric's from Sonoma. And he walked in, because a lot of people come into our visitor center like, have questions or remember this. He said, when I was a kid, I remember going to an underground skating rink. Was that real or am I imagining?
Wait, don't tell me. Is that the game we're playing?
Is that real or am I imagining it? So he remembered a skating rink and he insisted it was underground.
Okay.
What do you think?
Is this like a true or false situation?
Well,
I mean, an underground skating rink. That seems unlikely to me. I can imagine like wine caves, right? But could there be a skating rink in a wine cave?
Well, okay, so this was I like the way you're thinking.
Yeah.
Because I asked him a few more questions. I'm like, are you sure it was underground?
Yeah.
Or I was like, were you skating with just roller skates in a wine cellar, in a cave? And I'm like, maybe he went to some place where, because he was young, you took a step or two down.
Okay.
And you thought you were underground.
Yeah.
And then maybe the walls were kind of like a dome. So you felt like you were underground. There's no windows.
This sounds like a sunken living room pit 1970s circa
well done.
situation.
That's right.
Okay.
Some menthol 120s.
It's a disco roller skating situation.
Weren't they all? So here's what I did. I did some research.
Oh.
I said, Eric, this is interesting. So there were two possibilities here for these roller rinks. Okay. One was directly across from the old visitor center. It's on First Street East. Okay. And it was opened by Samuele Sebastiani. He was quite the entrepreneur here in town. And I think in 1940, he opened a roller skating there and stuff. So it was called what's it called? A rollarium? A skatorium? That doesn't sound good. Anyway.
How long did it last?
Well, for quite a long time. And it had, it says, Sebastiani spared no expense to ensure that his skating rink floor was one of the finest and largest in the Bay Area. The modern building also had a check room for jackets and shoes, dressing rooms, and a soft drink stand. It was a high-quality amusement palace. And the rink's interior walls were brightly painted with colorful scenes, and skaters glided to entrancing music under the latest lighting effects.
Wow.
So I wonder if there's like an underground feeling to that, if that was still there.
Oh,
Samuele died in 1944, but the Rollatorium. It's not the Skatorium. That would be, the Rollatorium is a better name. Yeah, thank you. So then it blah, 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 and it lasted until it became sometime as a grocery store later. It became a grocery store. Now it's an art gallery and chocolate cows nearby and stuff like that. So that's one of them. Here's the other one. My favorite one is in the 50s from the Sonoma Index Tribune. Well, right, 1950. Item. No rowdyism tolerated. Ready? A roller skating rink catering primarily to teenagers and the younger will open this Friday afternoon, November 12th, in the Boys Hot Springs Casino. This is 1954. The Boys Hot Springs Casino. So a man named William Johnson said that Jack Thayer of Glen Ellen, one of Northern California's leading roller rink operators, will operate the Boys Rollertorium. I think Rollertorium's a thing.
I've never heard that term before.
You need to become a plantorium.
That's close to planetarium.
Oh, Stephanie will get mad.
Yeah, I know. I think.
Yeah. They put it on a hardwood floor. Here's my favorite part, though. No rowdyism will be tolerated, Thayer said.
Rowdyism.
And a special deputy will be hired to see that order is kept at all times. Wow. Do you think like teenagers are just going wild on roller skates?
I know. What does success look like here?
Well, definitely not rowdies.
No rowdyism.
There's no rowdyism. Rowdies are fine, but behave yourself. So, hey, Eric from Sonoma, I don't think we had an underground skating rink, but we definitely had skating rinks.
Yeah.
And it's also possible there were skating rinks we don't know about using the term underground, meaning illicit, like an event.
Right.
However,
Pop-up, but not an event.
but we don't know about it because they're underground.
That's right.
Like, what's the point of having an underground event if people know about it? Wow. Yeah. So I don't know. Okay, so that one's sort of like yes, but maybe. Mm-hmm. Another question someone asked, the same guy. He claims, is there a tunnel from Kenwood to Calistoga?
Oh. Like that a car could drive through?
Or a person could walk through.
Oh, goodness.
A tunnel from Kenwood to Calistoga, which I think, as the crow flies, is probably 20 miles.
Yeah, it's a lot of rock, too.
It's a lot of rock.
So
and it's
get
entire
through,
Mayacapan range.
Hood Mountain or Bald Mountain or...
Yeah. And it's all geothermal up there when you think about it. So I'm inclined to say no.
Yeah, I would be inclined to say no.
The only kind of tunnel would be there, like a secret government alien tunnel. Oh. But then how would we know about it?
Secret government and alien tunnel?
Well,
Are they in
that's
cahoots?
that we're going to get. Yeah. Yes. Have you read the news?
What's your source?
So on this one, I don't think just on pure, it's possible but not likely. And even the possible is pretty hard to gauge there. Yeah, that'd be a pretty far tunnel. There are some caves. There's some wine caves. There was some mercury mining, so it's possible maybe in that area, but I doubt that there's a tunnel that will go from Kenwood to Calistoga. But if there is, tell us about it.
If there was, then we wouldn't have to drive over Trinity or Calistoga
Well, that's
Road.
my
There
point,
you go.
right? We would just take the tunnel.
Maybe it's a secret billionaire tunnel. Only some people get. Yes.
Like when Elon Musk invented the subway. He's like, I'm going to dig a hole and put a Tesla in it, and then I'm going to put like 4 Teslas in a row. And that's how we're going to beat traffic. We're going to string them all together and go through a tunnel.
He's like, I invented the subway.
Yes. I'm like, oh, yes, you're a genius. Okay, final question we got. We are in Sacramento and want to come visit Sonoma. Can we do this without a car for a day trip, or should we spend the night? And should we rent a car?
Yeah, I would probably spend the night and rent a car, personally, so you could see the most.
That's right.
Right?
You can go on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Go to Botanical Garden.
On a Wednesday, come stay at Olea or Age House.
Right.
Or...
Kenwood Inn and Spa is not far away from you.
I know. There you go.
So getting to Sonoma Valley from Sacramento without a car is possible, but not easy.
Yeah.
Right. There's like the 3 E's of travel: ease, economy, and elegance.
Oh.
You could probably do it. You can do 1 out of 3 all the time. 2 out of the 3 most of the time, but 3 out of 3 is very hard.
Yeah. It's a perfect storm.
Yeah, it's just really hard. So to get from Sacramento to Sonoma Valley would require probably going to Sacramento to either Oakland or San Francisco on a bus or train, and then working your way up. So you're kind of doing the 2 parts of a triangle there.
Yeah.
So renting a car would be your best option that I know of.
Yeah.
But yeah, you should come for the night. Don't just come for the day.
Definitely come for the night.
Spend the night.
Plenty to see and do here.
Go to the Botanical Garden. Go see some stuff. Have a good time, and then go back to Sacramento to go do whatever they do in Sacramento. Legislate.
You know what? I'm a terrible person to answer that question. I've never been to Sacramento.
Really?
Because I moved here 2.5 years ago.
Oh,
so,
right.
They don't let me out very often. I'm like a garden gnome.
Well,
I don't get off site very often.
And occasionally you move. Like, does that gnome move? That's scary. No, Sacramento. If they want to sponsor this podcast, you can't because this is Sonoma Valley. But Sacramento's quite nice. It is the current capital of California, and it's in the Central Valley. And the people from Central Valley grow almonds, but they call them almonds.
Seriously?
You didn't know that?
No, I never heard almonds.
You've never heard almonds?
No.
Oh, that's a very
I really don't get out enough.
Central Valley way to pronounce almond.
Okay.
Yeah, they call them almonds. So you really don't know that? For real?
I've learned.
I taught you a tree fact. Yes.
Is that a tree fact?
Stump the botanist lady. Yes. Yes. And also Sacramento has a train museum and an old-timey area, and they call it Old Sac, which Old Sacramento.
Old Sac. That's not flattering.
I know.
They should rethink that.
No, that's very on brand for Sacramento.
Is it?
Sacramento, you should rethink that. I love you, Sacramento. You're the best. All right, you answered all the questions correctly.
All right.
You're amazing. I should have asked you like a
the
plant question. I know, that's the way it is. Jeannie, it's been wonderful having you on.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you for coming. Again, if people want more information about the Sonoma Botanical Garden, tell me the website again.
SonomaBG.org.
SonomaBG.org.
Come see us. We're on Highway 12 in Glen Ellen near the Arnold intersection.
Love it.
Open every day, 10 to 5.
Wonderful. And on Wednesdays, there's special non-events happening.
That's right. Wednesdays, our hours are 10 to 8.
10 to 8. And then you can also go see the Spirit Guides exhibit from now until Jeannie's birthday.
September 7th, everyone.
Send her a gift.
I'm a Virgo.
Send her a gift. All right. And after you've done that, after you've gone to SonomaBG.org, after you've joined the museum and become a major sponsor and showed up for everything, after you've done all that, please go to SonomaValley.com for those deals, special offers, events. You can also order your visitor guide and come visit us. Mom and Dad, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.